Hello and welcome to another open source live code hangout. Today we'll be working on the Western Friend website. My current goal is to help improve the code quality by adding unit test coverage, which means I also need to break down some of the more complicated parts of the code. We will look at that in the current session. I have a really complicated function, several of them, in the shared pie. And it's essentially where I'm kind of parsing a bunch of data. I'm iterating over a big blob of HTML, splitting it, parsing it item by item, extracting particular types of items, images, pull quotes, parsing these, reassembling the body as a wagtail CMS block widget. Sort of a stream field is like a bunch of, it's an array or list of these generic components called blocks. I've been puzzling over this for a while. I was like, something just seems off. Firstly, the first sign that this needs refactoring is the size of the function. I have this kind of accumulator here that I'm using to gather consecutive blocks until I hit a particular block that needs special treatment. So these are like paragraphs. I want to assemble a big rich text field with a bunch of paragraphs, but as soon as I hit an image or like a pull quote or some other special cases, I need to break out of that, save what I've got so far into a rich text element, handle the image, continue parsing the rest of it, sort of an iterative thing until we get to the end of the body and have reassembled this stream field, which is like an array of rich text, image, rich text, pull quote, blocks. So yes, in this stream, so in this live stream series, we've been using GPT-4 to help us out and explore certain questions. In some ways, it's comparable and even exceeds the experience of Stack Overflow. But in this case, I asked it a very specific question about my code base that I couldn't really turn to Stack Overflow for with good conscience. I can't ask people on Stack Overflow to refactor my code. I don't know. So I just said I have a really long function. It's hard to understand and test. I'm going to split up this functions into smaller parts so that I can add unit tests for all the code. And I just kind of pasted in this big parse body blocks function, just without even, any backticks or anything, just kind of pasted it in. And so it said the function you provided seems to be doing a few different things. Parsing HTML with beautiful soup, searching through the elements of the parsed HTML, and processing pull quotes, images, and rich text. Basically, yeah. We have special handlers for these. At least 3 different block types. Pull quote, image, and rich text are 3 wagtail blocks. Rich text is internal. Images and pull quotes I've kind of extended or built somehow a little bit more bespoke to this project. In order to split this function into smaller, more manageable parts and improve its testability, you can start by creating separate functions to handle each of these responsibilities. Here's an example of how you might do that. And it just split it out. Process HTML, process element, process pull quote, process image, parse body blocks. So yeah, it looks good. Now my parse body blocks is much more manageable. Really nice, easy to read, and then I can get the layer of abstraction I need when it's appropriate. So let's go ahead and try this out. It's essentially done the work for me. So I'll comment out this sort of monolithic function. Yeah, and I asked it this off stream. But I was like, this is so cool. I really want to show this. on stream, just as an example of how these large language models can be used, to make us more effective at our work. It still uses this accumulator, so I was kind of right in my intuition that I wasn't going to be able to get rid of that. But it does so in a more refined way, which is what I was just struggling to find the right solution here. So essentially, now anytime we copy and paste code from Stack Overflow or have code auto-generated us from any large language model or GitHub Copilot, I'm not sure if GitHub Copilot is a large language model, we should always, review it and make sure it's doing what we expect, and that we make sure we understand it. And for example, I'm going to start by having the tool help me out. In this case, MyPy is showing some concerns. Maybe I can start by these child functions, finding what they should return. It returns essentially a string. And that was Copilot helping out there. Process pull quote also returns. Now, one thing that this is cool, it did is, I think it called it a dependency injection. This article body blocks is also an accumulator. It's a list of tuples, and essentially the wagtail internal stream field, as I mentioned, is like a list of these block elements. These are kind of like UI components in a way. There's some behavior, a template, some data all bundled in, and it gets rendered in, into the user interface. In this case, mostly server-side rendering, but you can bundle JavaScript and things client-side in the templates. It's not mutually exclusive. So it defines this at a top level in the parse body blocks function, as well as the accumulator, and then it injects this into the process element. So there's a reference now inside of this function that can mutate this top level array. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. I'm just maybe not so familiar with that pattern. I've encountered it mostly with state management in applications and user interface applications like Flutter, where you define your sort of state or even some functions that modify state in a top level context and pass it into the children. That way they can mutate or invoke these functions, mutate that state or invoke the function, and it has an effect in the parent context that can then propagate to other children. And that's essentially the pattern here, and I believe it's called dependency injection, because you're injecting into those functions a dependency or something that you can then work with inside of that handler. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Which also illustrates that this large language model is working at a high level of abstraction. I don't know if you would call it understanding, but I think I'm also of the perspective of it doesn't so much matter if it understands. The effect is what we can kind of measure right now, is what we can observe, the output. So this is in a way AI behavioralism. I can see the behavior, but not necessarily see the internal perception or representation. So this is also returning a string. This one's a bit more tricky. A beautiful soup, or if we can't parse HTML, I believe we should raise. Let me double check here. When we parse HTML, it just returns I could try catch there and log in the parent context. Well, it's not too bad. We just so except that I don't have a pipe character. At this point, it's a BS4 tag. I could say or none. That's not too bad. I would rather use the pipe. But what's this? Yeah, I can't use or none. Where's the pipe? This is the awkwardness I'm doing. Despite searching this multiple times, and the answer is probably obvious if I can discover it in hindsight, I suppose it'll be obvious. I just can't get this pipe character on my Finnish keyboard layout. Finnish keyboard layout. Not Swedish, not like Danish or some other pastry. I'm just kidding. But I can't find the pipe character. I've tried all these alt-ger commands. I've tried the greater than alt-ger greater than less than key. Tried shift greater than less than. I don't know why I can't find this. It's a Mac. Try it one more time. Character. MacBook Finnish keyboard. It's sort of a MacBook, but not quite. Alt 7. Alt plus 7. That's not too bad. If that's the case. Alt 7. Oh, yes. It's the Shift 7 is the /. Alt 7 is the thing. Okay, wow. What else do I need here? Tilde. I use that a lot. Alt plus caret. Very cool. I need to print this and just hang it on the wall there. Thank you. Verdalikov. That made my day. Okay. I don't have a lot of time in today's stream, so let's continue this. So the refactoring, GPT-4 is a very useful refactoring tool, as well as helpful in many other ways. It's helped me explore concepts, draft new content like blog articles, and come up with new ideas, some like project ideas that I'd like to carry forward. But right now I just need to focus on one project and one project only. So despite these ideas, I'm putting them on hold. I'm practicing self-restraint, not just diving into the next project. I've already done that with this Western Friend project. I've tried to do side projects and the Western Friend project and didn't even end up really doing anything. This Western Friend project is still ongoing after about 5 years of development. Now we're trying to really buckle down, trying to make that release, make it happen this year. So it just takes a bit of focus and discipline, which I still struggle with. I suppose those are just human struggles. We just all probably do that. Okay, so now we got some more. Issues. Yeah, this is the one that's been plaguing me with this BS4 tag. It's that this item, when BS4 parses the HTML, it actually can output several different classes. I don't have a strict way of telling MyPy this is, as far as I know, only ever going to be BS4 tag. See, it's saying it can be extract pull quotes is incompatible type optional string, expected string, optional string. So yeah, it's saying that this is okay. All right, try this. Make MyPy happy. Or stir item. I think that would be none, right? Return early, an empty string. Now I think this check should have happened outside of there, but because it's already going to be looking at is process pull quotes in string. So maybe I could have actually made it safer there. So this is under process elements, okay. The one thing I can do is just that same check here. Okay, so. Maybe, I don't know. If that'll make MyPy happy. Really, if I just make this a string and pass it in there, doesn't I think doesn't need to be. That's just item then, right? Let me double check here. So I'll change that pattern here and here. And we'll just go ahead and put trailing commas for good measure. This is example. You still have to work with the code and understand it. Just to reiterate that part, it's essential that this GPT-4 and these large language models really useful to accelerate our work, get us a big leap forward. But usually I'm using them in a loop, like cycling back over, asking follow-up questions or posing refinements to the output. Here I'm manually refining the output. So they're just, I think so far, just aids to help us be more effective. Cautiously optimistic. So this one would be the same. I need to pass the item there. I don't need to stringify it, since I was essentially doing that internally. And this is a lot to juggle in your head, like where I'm using this as a string versus where I'm using it as a PS4 tag. So that's why it's essential that we introduce typing to our code base. It's literally what I was saying in the comment here. So these are all aligning here. So and again, the juggling, the mental gymnastics you have to go through to keep all these concepts in the air and not drop any of them is quite a lot. And I don't have very much bandwidth in my brain, so I need help from the tooling as much as I can, as much as I can get. All right, so I think we've refactored it. Now, one telling way to see if the refactor has succeeded is to run the tests that we've been writing. Hey, welcome to chat. Sorry, I just noticed the messages there. Let me hop over to multi-stream. Looks like YouTube chat is working. Huh, I can't see the messages here. Let me double check. Hey Robbie, welcome to the chat. Sorry for the delay. This project is an open source website for an organization in the Western United States, including actually northern Mexico. So it's basically North America. Anyway, it's a fairly big community of people who use this website, and we've built features like a bookstore, a magazine, reader with subscription where it allows you to access certain issues while giving free access to the bulk of the issues. Only the recent issues, like 3 most recent issues, are subscriber only, and the rest of the issues going back to 1929 are free in the archive. We've got a multimedia library, quite a lot of features here. Yeah, Robbie mentions that Chat GPT is great for refactoring. That's right. That's been my experience too. I was actually really surprised that it had such a high level awareness of code and how the Python language works. And yeah, so it's pretty cool. Have you used Chat GPT or not MyPy? Well, MyPy also, but Copilot on any other projects? Do you do Python development mainly? By the way, are you in the Twitch or on YouTube? I'm not sure. I'm having some stream issues with this multi-stream setup. It's not quite synchronizing things correctly. So I'm missing chat messages, for example. Having troubles with the accounts. Okay, so our server's running. Some problems. Wagtail can't get the analysis for those. I just need to tell MyPy to ignore that. Maybe I can handle that here. MyPy missing imports. I think I can just put like a comment at the end of the line there. Running MyPy. The article was. I did open an issue or commented on an existing issue in Wagtail CMS. Okay, Robbie Martin's on YouTube. There we go. Now the chat came through. Okay, maybe it's good. If I keep this stream chat open, I think I see the messages. But if I move away from that multi-stream tab, then I miss them. Cool. Thanks for the clarification, Robbie. Nice. I'm in Finland, streaming from Finland right now on a Saturday morning. Where are you at in the world? I could write my own stub files. And then, yeah, I could say my pi, ignore missing imports. Alright, these aren't so bad for now. I'll just let my pi complain about that. And I did open, as I mentioned, or actually commented on an existing issue in Wagtail about supporting type hinting, and basically they said it's a big job and out of scope right now. Control L. All right, cool. So now we can, we're in the virtual environment in the app directory. I think I can run tests. Let's see, what was the command? Coverage run, manage.py, test keep db. Okay, I just have to remember to prefix it coverage instead of poetry. Florida, very cool. Wow, what time is it there? I actually grew up in Florida partially. I was from around 8 to 12, or no, around 5 years old to 12 years old, I guess. I lived mostly in Florida. I don't know, I have to get the dates right, but I was in the West Palm Beach area, North Palm Beach maybe also. Lived in a few places. That area. Okay, so now we have some errors. Some test failures. Which is cool. I'm glad for that. That my tests, we know my tests are working. Ah, there is a little subtlety there, isn't there? There's and an error. Okay, dang. Might have to put this on hold, but I'll have about maybe 30 more minutes I can work on this. 3 a.m. Oh, you work nights? Okay. Yeah, I also had a night job for a while when I lived in Kansas. Around 2008, I worked at a hydroelectric power plant on the night watch. Since I was the only person in the place. It's a historic power plant on the what river is that? Kansas River, I guess, in Lawrence, Kansas, called the Bowersock Mills and Power Plant. Interesting. Oh, I had to just sit there basically and check the turbines every, I think, 30 minutes to make sure things weren't freezing. And if the temperatures were getting below freezing, I had to shut them down to keep them from like destroying themselves. Kind of interesting. Okay. So let's see if we can address this issue. None-type object is not callable. Yeah. Item.replace. So we do have a case where that could be none. Line 72. Which is interesting. Because the check was not safe enough. Makes sense. Oh. Alright, let's try it out again. Command L. Yeah, you can say that. It sort of comes, I think I've inherited it a bit. My biological mom was what you would call a tumbleweed. She never really settled in her life. I think she moved, I don't know how many times. Wasn't raised by her, but I think she only lived in places like 1 or 2 years and would move, moving in apartments in the same city or moving to a whole other cities. She lived in Florida, she lived in Arizona, she lived in Kansas and Missouri, and I don't know where else. And my grandma who adopted me, we moved a few times growing up, but mainly between Kansas and Florida. Then I lived in Kansas for a while, Then I ended up in California, and now I've skipped over to Finland. In a nutshell, I've also lived briefly for a little bit in Missouri. But I've been here in Finland for 9 years, so that's a testament. I've actually been in the same city in Finland for 9 years, so yeah. I think at this stage of my life, I'm ready to kind of hopefully put roots. That's what I'm trying to do. It's a bit challenging, isn't it? Have you been in Florida your whole life, Robbie? Okay, so we're not doing this MyPy thing. I'll come back to that later. We do have some more errors here. Wait a minute. I'm even checking. Okay, this code I didn't write, did I? Well, sort of. It's unpacking it. Now, previously I was unpacking it as well. This is what I need to find. Control F that. And actually, why don't I just use my extract pull quotes? Oh. That's different. That should work. I mean, unpacking it's a tuple, I get the two values. Okay, yeah, so that's a long time to live in a place. So you have probably a good sense of place, but you're probably also not getting this sort of excitement to go exploring your place, right? After you live in a place a while, you lose that spark of curiosity, and then we get in patterns, I think, typically, where we just kind of go to normal routine places and routine paths through the place, and we lose the exploratory zest or whatever. I've started to do that as well. Oh man. Well, good thing I've got these tests. Replace just takes 2 arguments. String replace. Can't wait to get the docs. Old, new, right? Yeah, that's a good point that the GPT-like tools are becoming more popular and integrating directly into the development environments, as well as other tools like spreadsheets and word processors, for example. I use this tool called Grammarly to help me write better. Grammarly also has a large language model. It's not GPT, it's can't remember if I've read this correctly from Anthropic. I think they have a large language model that is on par with GPT. It's what I think the main, as far as I understand, contender in the LLM model space. According to these ELO ratings, there's some websites that are ranking the quality of large language model output based on essentially asking 2 large language models the same question, and then people deciding which is the better response, essentially. So you give it some input, you get the output from both, and then you say, this one's better, this is the winner. And It's using humans to rank them thousands of times and then getting an overall ranking of the language models. I can't remember the name of this site, but LLM ELO rankings. There's probably probably a few initiatives. Chatbot Arena, benchmarking, LLMs with ELOs. And unfortunately, I can't paste this to GitHub chat. I'm only in read-only mode, but you can check out Chatbot Arena if you haven't already. It's pretty cool. And at this point, the blog was written. I'm not sure if they were including ChatGPT or if there's other of these ranking systems that include ChatGPT. Nonetheless, you can see they've got the same input for 2 models. Each model gives an output, and then the person will rank them. Yeah, there's a few of these initiatives, it looks like. And you can actually then participate here. chat.lmsys.org. All right. Yeah, so here's the current rankings. GPT-4 has got 1225 by OpenAPI. Claude V1, 1195 by Anthropic. And the Anthropic, I don't know if how much about these organizations, but Anthropic does have some guiding principles on LLM safety, and including safety in the development and deployment of these large language models. Anthropic, which I think is a really important theme, and it should be essential in our research in general. Safety, right? Ethics and safety are should be major constraints in our pursuit of knowledge. Yeah, so they put safety at the frontier. So I'm kind of on board with this company. I don't know much about them, so it's not much of an endorsement, but they have their own LLM. I haven't tried it out. I did do the OpenAI. One thing that kind of bothers me about OpenAI is they have open in their name, but a lot of what they do is not open source or necessarily published openly. So it's kind of a misappropriation of that ethos of openness. But at the same time, they are publishing research and things like that, and they're at the forefront of the ethics discussions in this space, including their CEO, what is his name, Sam Altman, testifying in Congress and things like that, and urging to standardize and regulate these models and the sort of research process that brings these models into the market and into the world and into our lives. So yeah, the two of the top 3 are Anthropic, but then we got the GPT 3.5s not far behind. And then there's Llama that came out of Facebook, as far as I understand. Palm 2, this is coming from Google. Yeah, Google. So they're in the contenders, the top contenders here. Anyway, it's cool to see how they shape up and compare. And GPT-4 is pretty effective. So I would imagine this Claude is also fairly effective. I think it's just on a wait list right now. Yeah, but they have a Slack bot. Yeah, nonetheless, it's worth checking out. So I'm certainly interested in pragmatic uses of these tools. I'm using them on a daily basis, both in my day job and on my open source work. I am concerned that we develop technology in general to support human life and to affirm human rights. We do things safely. I'm not in the camp that says, well, if we don't do militarized artificial intelligence, some other country will do it. I think that's just a cop-out. We need ethics and international standards and agreements to develop technology safely. I'm just not in any kind of position really to influence policy, so I'm at a more pragmatic level of focus right now. trying to get my project working, which also helps to support communities in the mainly western half of North America. Okay. So yeah, what's this error here? Mainly the string comparison. Are we still getting, let's see. I saved this, I reran. Let's see if we still get that none error. Surprised MyPy is not complaining. And I'm still getting errors in the tests about type safety, basically. Or nullability. Null safety. So I'm having to check my, do my own null checks. All right, did we still get this? Remove pull quote tags. Output BS4 tag. This is no longer BS4 tag, so that's wrong. And I've got type ignore there. Nice. Okay. So I've shot myself in the foot. I just realized that. Don't I? Where is this? Oh, this is in my tests. It's in my test. Okay. I put type ignore there so that I could run the test. Test remove pull quote with multiple pull quotes. My test is no longer valid that I'm working with. Strings, for one thing. I kind of like that. We're not working too much with BS4 tags here. Expected string. And it, I guess, seems obvious in hindsight that if I change the way the code is behaving by switching, for example, from BS4 tags to strings, that my test would need to be changed accordingly. Makes sense, the tests kind of follow the flow of the code. Whoa, what did I do? Huh? Redo. I must have hit some super. Oh, I reverted that whole thing. There's a keyboard shortcut for revert, apparently. What did I do? What kind of applications have you found useful output, or for using LLMs? What are some ways that you're using LLMs in your daily life? Or actually, all I did, I think, was just... I didn't actually rewrite my code. I just jumped to another place. There's the G I was missing. Yeah, and essentially I just need to double check this pull quote tags test case suite, test suite. Anyway, okay, hopefully we'll be good to go now. Dev environments mainly. All right, 30, I got about 15 minutes. I'm gonna get ready to go to the library. I'm not sure that I'll wrap this particular task up in that time frame. Maybe. It's not something I'm like expecting to be done right away. Oh, too many errors now. Oh man. But this is good. I'm refactoring. This is just a matter of it's firstly concatenating these without space, because there is no there is no space, so that's something I just can fix here. Some text with a pull quote. Yeah, and I'll just run this debugger here. That'll help me get a little bit more insight into what's going on. So I should have this. I pulled a pull quote, and all it really should do is strip out these pull quote tags here. Yeah, stuff inside of there. So it could be switching to stir replaces breaking something and unpacking that tuple, which I think that was a thing GPT-4 added. GPT-4, as what's his name, Prime likes to say. You ever watched a Primogen? I'm on the fence. He's funny, but sometimes a bit it gets a little bit kind of, I don't want to be too critical, but some of the humor is just like, okay, I'd rather not offend a bunch of people. I'd rather keep things more like inclusive, and I think some of the humor in that channel is degenerate, and he even acknowledges that. What does he call him? His degen, lead-gen. This is for his prime viewers. Oh yeah, okay. Django tests, run them. Anyway, he's also really skilled and has some interesting insights, and debatable at times. Not that I would engage in the debate, but I know that there's no like ultimate truths. There's shades of truth in almost everything. Everything has levels of trade-off, so you can't really derive any absolute conclusion, I think, in life. But particularly about engineering and things like that, there's always trade-offs. All right, so our input HTML looks like this, right? And I just want to extract this pull quote, and I want to strip out those tags. Our output blocks is a list of tuples, and the pull quote should be gone here, because the pull quote got extracted. So what's happening is the extract pull quote is working, but the replacement is not working. It's a good thing we wrote these unit tests, it really is. And it kind of shows that you've got to take the output of these models, again, with a grain of salt, check them, make sure they're producing meaningful output, make sure I'm not breaking its output if it did produce meaningful output. Facts check them if you're doing research or going to be publishing things publicly, even blog posts or tweets, check our sources and stuff like that. Okay, so that's cool. Now, I got about 5 minutes. I'm thinking if I can't solve this in 5 minutes, we'll come back to it. So the function, though, is the parse pull quotes, right? The whole thing is that we're parsing body blocks and we're testing parse body blocks with a pull quote. The weird thing is, why does this fail? Oh yeah, because we're at a different level. The individual functions might succeed or have not been tested. I have some tests on the pull quote though. Yeah, remove pull quote sample test case is passing. Extract pull quote. It's not the problem. The problem is the create the pull quote block, which I didn't have under test. Okay, cool. The process quote pull quotes. And here's the problem with testability is I've got a side effect here. This is, I mentioned, I'm passing in this state. I'm using dependency injection, so I can't test this function directly because it has a side effect. So not ideal. What I can do is return a tuple, rich text value, article body blocks. Will that work? And where are we using this? Let me just see if this will work. This is a bit of a puzzler, admittedly. For now, I'll do that. Well, let's just make it consistent. Hopefully they'll improve things here. Yes, I'm gonna have to go. Keyboard. We'll just run it. I think I was running it over here, I'm not sure. That's not the right one, this one right here. I haven't committed any of this. I really want to move forward with this. Recursion on list. I have to change all my Well, we'll step back from that idea. I don't know. I think recursion, that means that I'm mutating the list inside and returning it. I don't know what the heck that was, but oh wait. Well, even then. Why is this squiggly? That's an interesting error. Expected tag, item, and an article body blocks list. An assignment. Oh, the assignment. Yeah, okay. Process element is now returning. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay. I gotta go. I don't like leaving things open like this, leaving things hanging. Sometimes you just gotta step away and come back with a fresh perspective. I'll not have time today. Unfortunately, this is going to have to stay open. Hoping to have closure here. The refactoring introduced a bunch of errors. Lists differ. So the pull quote, this is matching, but the second item differs. So the output is not including second tuple. Well, what I would expect here is we have a rich text block that contains some text with a pull quote, some text with a pull quote without these, and it includes a pull quote without these. It has only that. So therein lies the issue. Parse body blocks is breaking down at some point. Okay, well, I mean, at least we have a clear sign of where to look when we start next time. Very cool. Well, this has been another Wagtail CMS open source web development hangout. We've been using GPT-4 to help us refactor a very long function in a way that's more easy to read and test, although the process didn't work out of the box for whatever reason. For several reasons, I think this code as is wouldn't work, or at least I'm getting errors in the tests, and it may be errors that I've introduced. Maybe this code does work properly and the tests as they were written were incorrect, but I believe the test cases are correct and they were passing previous to this refactor. So that's probably a good sign that something in here is not quite correct, which is generally the understanding that you need to check the output of these large language models for factuality or correctness. But they do help accelerate your work, in my brief experience. All right. Well, thanks, Robbie Martin, for stopping by the channel and hanging out in the chat. It's nice to have somebody to hang out with while we're working on some code. All right, I hope you're doing well and have a great day.